Welcome back after the news. Like I said, thank you very much for joining us here on Solihull Radio. We have got an amazing guest lined up for the second hour here on Tuesday Thoughts with me, Jeff O'Brien. And her name is Alison Swift. She is a local author, mum, IT specialist that has changed tack and written a book. And we are very lucky and privileged to have you here in the studio today, Alison. And today is actually the day the book is available. Is that right?
Yeah, it's official release date
today.
Yeah.
So the book is called My Wellness Toolbox. Now, I've been lucky enough to have a pre-release copy, and I've been flicking through. And to give you an outline, in fact, would you like to give people an outline of what your book is about, and tell us a little bit about what you've written and why you've perhaps written it?
Okay, so My Wellness Toolbox contains the 26 tools that I have gathered over the past 12 to 13 years to help me not only manage day to day but overcome anxiety. So back in my late teens, so towards 98, 99, I started to experience extremely bad panic and anxiety. Didn't deal with it, didn't really talk about it, was ashamed of it in a way, and just allowed it to kind of take over. So 8 years later, come 2006, I hit what I call my rock bottom. And that actually meant that one day I woke up, went through the normal standard struggle that I went through every morning to leave the house, but actually couldn't leave the house.
How did the anxiety manifest itself?
In a number of ways, but I would have a number of symptoms, whether that was dry mouth, I'd tremble, pins and needles, sickness, nausea.
Yes, I understand what
TMI, there's certain things here that I'm not going to say.
Yeah, I understand.
But it would kind of manifest very quickly, or it could be quite slow progression, but it was mainly in public situations, whether I was eating in restaurants or in crowds or things like that.
And from that, and forgive me, I'm not trying to take you back to there, but if this is your starting point for this book, it manifests itself. Did it actually increase to what I call a full-blown panic attack, or was it just a level of anxiety that you created your own coping strategies for, and you just lived at that level of anxiety?
I did have a number of extremely bad panic attacks, yeah.
Right.
But I haven't had one actually now. In fact, I can't remember the last one I had, but I know it's over 10 years ago. Okay,
and presumably some of the tools in your toolbox will enable you to recognise those symptoms and then use some of these coping strategies to stop the full-blown panic attack and bring yourself back down to a manageable level.
Exactly. So when I hit my rock bottom, it was actually my mum convinced me to go and get some help. So went to the GP and was very scared at the time, but finally asked for help, and that was the turning point, really. To that point, I'd actually tried looking on the internet for the answer.
Is that Dr. Google?
Dr. Google,
of course.
Dr. Google didn't give me any straight answers.
Okay.
And I tried many books, but nothing seemed to really help me.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I've obviously gone down this
road. Very clever.
And it was actually when I went to get help, the doctor advised that I try CBT. So I went for cognitive behavioural therapy.
Okay.
And that's where I was introduced to the concept of my toolbox, a toolbox that I carried around with me at all times and had the tools in it that helped me just cope with day in, day out anxiety, and I've kind of taken it to the next level. Okay.
So the book is the manifestation of all of the different tools that you use day to day to manage, quotes, life and the sort of level of where people's anxiety is. I've noticed over the last 10, 15, 20 years, anxiety is becoming a much bigger factor in people's day-to-day life. Anxiety, panic attacks and stress. Now, when I was smaller, we didn't necessarily put as much focus on people's well-being, day-to-day well-being, as we do today.
Yeah.
So tell us, let's just take one of your tools, because there are 20, like you say, 26 tools in the book.
Yeah.
Let's take one of the tools that you use predominantly day to day, and you say, that's one of my tools, I'm going to stick with it.
My bottle of water.
Okay.
And that's tool number 1.
Tool number 1
and
is...
it seems so water, but it's the simplest and it's the easiest, and it's the one that can help you stop panic attacks in their midst as well.
Okay, so everywhere you go, there's a bottle of water.
Not anymore.
Oh.
So, and this is where not only have I got the tools that help me manage day in, day out, but it's actually helped me overcome anxiety. There are situations today where I do get anxious, which tend to be quite rational situations, job interviews, coming to a radio interview. As normal people would. So my bottle of water will come with me. But it was only a couple of years ago I realised I'd actually stopped taking bottles of water with me everywhere I go.
Excellent. And so your bottle of water, so you feel yourself, and let's say you're at level 2, yeah? And we know that it's beginning to climb because in your mind, you are developing the, quotes, story of stress that I call it, which always seems to get slightly worse every time you tell it to yourself. Yep. And you're in this sort of descending spiral of anxiety and worry. Your bottle of water, you have a couple of sips of water. Now, forgive me, a couple of sips of water, for me, I would need quite a lot of CBT or linking therapies to link having a couple of sips of water to bringing myself back down to level 2 again.
Okay.
Is that something that you develop over time?
Yeah. It is something that it became a tool that as I used it more and more over time, I kind of became more reliant on it. And it did become a crutch, but it worked. And the thing about the book here is it's trying to give you the tools to use proactively. So if you're going into a situation that would normally feel you, or scenario that would normally make you feel anxious, take the bottle of water with you. And sometimes by just having that bottle of water with me, it kind of would prevent me from getting anxious, because it was like a crutch in a way. I thought, wow, if especially I used to have to go into a lot of meetings with the work that I did working in IT, and often had to get up and speak. So I'd take my bottle of water, make sure I kept my mouth nice and wet, and it would just keep me just that little bit calmer. But obviously the more you use it over time, the more successful it is hardwiring it into your brain that this works for me, and obviously then will make you feel better. It's not necessarily going to help on the very first time you use it.
I'll come clean. When I've been in the past suffering with these sort of elements of being nervous and being anxious, I'm going to tell you my crutch, as it were, that I used to rely on, and it made things worse in a way, because I used to have extra strong mints.
Oh, okay.
So whenever I felt anxious, I used to have an extra strong mint.
Well, interestingly, in the book, I refer to the fact there are some situations where you can't take water. One of those being through security, where actually you might feel quite claustrophobic, quite confined, out of control. And so I take sweets. But you're right, you've got to be quite careful sometimes with the choice of sweets.
Sure.
One of them being extra strong mints, because you can tend to eat one after the other.
One after the other. No, I was addicted. Yeah. I was addicted to extra strong mints, and I'm going to say that out loud. But I'm not there anymore. Thank you very much. So if, extra strong mint people... manufacturers are listening, thank you, but no thank you. Right, I've been looking through your pre-release copy. My Wellness Toolbox by Alison Swift is out for sale today, and I like tool number 14. Tool number 14 is all about surrounding yourself with positive people. I've found that developing Solihull Radio over the last 6 months or so, if I am around positive people, many more things happen and my stress levels come down. Did you find writing number 14 tricky, or have you been surrounded by positive people saying this is exactly what you need to be doing?
I think I learnt through the last 13 years who the positive people were in my life, and the people that make me feel really good, and the people that might not make me feel so good. And I've worked out who makes me positive, and therefore that's who I surround myself with.
There are people, aren't there, that seem to get their energy from negativity.
Yeah.
So they surround themselves with either negativity or try to instill negativity, and that then gives them their energy. I think in terms of a creative person or somebody that's sort of developing things in society, positivity needs to be the mainstay for that, doesn't it? So I take on board your tool 14 completely. So together with tool number 1 and tool number 14, I am already beginning to implement your toolbox.
Good.
So
that's 2 tools straight away.
That's two tools straight away. And like I say, I've been lucky enough to have a pre-release copy to flick through and have a little look through and see where I can start implementing these tools. How long did it take you to write, Alison?
So I actually started to write it about 2 years ago.
Right.
I did a Facebook post. Was quite upfront about the fact that I'd struggled with anxiety and I'd hit my rock bottom 10 years previously. And the response I got to that post privately, well, I got quite a lot of like public response, but I also got quite a lot of messages asking how I'd overcome the anxiety, what these tools were that I talked about. And so I gave some out there and then. And I realised that I wanted to do it on a bigger scale, committed to writing a book. Then I was pregnant. I had a daughter in January 2016. And it wasn't until the October that my sister and I were talking about the fact that we both like to write. It's one of our tools, which you'll discover in the book as well. And we wanted to kind of get some of this positivity out there, which is why we set up the SisterGoodness Facebook page. And then over a period of 26 weeks, I shared a tool a week to that audience of, it started off about 300, but it's now up to 700 members. And so really it took about 6 months. So that was from the October to the March that I actually produced what's in front of you today.
Okay, great stuff. Listen, can I play you a track that is inspired by tool number 21?
Yes.
Listen to this. We'll be right back with more from local author Alison Swift about her brand new book after this track here. All You Need Is Love by the Beatles, and that was inspired by reading tool number 21 from Alison Swift's new book, local Solihull author, by the way, My Wellness Toolbox, out today. Lots of different retailers and things like that, where it's available from, Alison?
Yeah, so it's currently available directly from the publisher, Troubadour, and also available on Amazon, Waterstones and all the other good online bookstores.
Okay.
And hopefully over the next few weeks we'll start to see it in some of our favourite book retailers on the high street as well.
Great stuff. Just before we play our adverts here on Solihull Radio, I just want to take you to task on tool number 4, please.
Okay.
Tool number 4 is media, turn it off.
Yes.
Now, from a Solihull Radio perspective, it's quite tricky.
Yeah.
Because obviously we are at the forefront. But do you mean the social medias, or do you just mean media in general? Or do you just take a break from everything?
Probably a combination of all of those, but really we're talking here about negative media. So when you watch television programmes, films, read the newspaper and you read negative articles, or you're watching, I don't know, a film that contains violence and it makes you feel anxious, or it makes you start to scenario in your mind negativity, and start to think bad things, it's about turning it off and walking away. Obviously also with social media today, just going along my Facebook feed this evening, there's negativity there and things that you don't necessarily want to see and can start to make you feel a bit negative, a bit anxious. So it's about scrolling past those things. Don't absorb yourself in it, switch it off.
Okay.
But the positive media, you can stay with that.
Thank you very much, solihullradio.com, and thank you very much for joining us. You are listening to Tuesday Thoughts here.
Solihull Radio.
That's right, welcome back. You have joined us here on Tuesday Thoughts on Solihull Radio. My name is Jeff O'Brien. We're here for the next 35 minutes or so. We are joined in the studio by local Solihull author Alison Swift, and we have been discussing her brand new book, My Wellness Toolbox, which is out today. So if you are looking online and wanting to find yourself a copy, if you haven't been lucky enough to have a pre-release copy like me, so that I've been able to have a look through and just pick Alison up on a few points about the media, for instance. I've put a big pencil mark there to talk to Alison. I want to talk to you about something I read on around the middle of the book, about having a $1 in your purse.
Yeah.
Tell me about the times when you look into that, and how did that come about?
So the dollar note has a message on it, which basically says, thank you very much for all the money that's coming to my life and all the fortune that's come into my life. And that's to remind me when I'm worried or feeling anxious about finances, that actually I'm a really fortunate person and I need to remain positive and be grateful for that. And this comes very much under the tool around gratitude and looking for the positive as well, and being grateful for everything that we have in our life, and trying not to focus on the things we haven't got and worrying about how we're going to pay that bill or this bill. And believe it or not, it really works. I can't explain it. It's just, I can't. I've had this dollar note. I've always been grateful. When I see it in my purse, I think, yep, thank you.
Just for clarity, it's a handwritten message on the note that
yes.
You didn't write?
No, I wrote the
You wrote the message.
Yes.
Okay, so
and
it's a tool to remind.
Yes,
okay.
And this so it's like it plants that seed all the time. Just stay grateful. Don't remain positive. And I actually got the idea. It came from a book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, and this is all about law of attraction and be positive and positive things will happen. Be positive about money and you won't have to worry about it as much and that type of thing. And actually, I can't explain it, but these things really do work.
Wow.
And so they do for me, and
okay.
I've included them in my toolbox.
Excellent.
And I think this is a good opportunity to say that My Wellness Toolbox is My Wellness Toolbox, and the idea is that I've shared the tools hoping that you can take from it what works for you, but I completely respect that not everything is for everybody.
I understand. All right, so it took you about 26 weeks, because obviously it's 1 week for each tool, so 6 months of writing. It's now out there. Can I ask you a question that's slightly more media related?
Yeah.
Well-being and wellness and just mindfulness in some ways, there's a lot out there. Some of it obviously doesn't work for you because you've written your own one.
Yeah.
But in discussions with your publishers and the people that you've taken advice from, how many people are actually going out and buying a tangible hard copy of a book nowadays? Is it like vinyl? Is it coming back, or are we seeing more movements into ebooks? But because this is available as an ebook as well.
Yeah, this is also available definitely today on iBooks, but it will be with the other retailers over the next couple of days, including for your Kindle.
Okay.
Etc. So there is a growth in ebooks now, and buying the book off the shelf is becoming, the demand they've shown that it is decreasing. So when I spoke with Troubadour, the advice was that we went down both routes. So you've covered
all your bases.
Yeah, basically. And I think for me, with it being under the self-help category, and I cover self-care and within the book and daily self-care, for me, sitting and reading a book and flicking through pages I find really therapeutic and relaxing. But I appreciate for other people just being able to download an ebook straight onto screen is what they would prefer, and that's what chills them out and relaxes them. So
okay,
I've gone for both options.
Can you stay there exactly where you are? Can I come back to you in a little bit?
Of course you can.
Because we've got lots to get through here on Tuesday Thoughts, but it's thank you very much for coming into Solihull Radio. We'll come straight back to you, so stay there. Right, back to our live studio guest this evening, Alison Swift, local Solihull author. Today is the launch of her first book.
Yes.
It's called My Wellness Toolbox. Do you have any plans to develop it into a series, or has anybody asked you that yet?
Well, I've actually started to share the scenarios, and actually in different scenarios how I would apply some of the tools. So it's more of a practical guide. I'm currently, or I've started to share this on the Facebook page. But you never know. It could, depending on how well My Wellness Toolbox is received, it might be something that we develop going forward.
In talks with the publishers, presumably. Very good.
Potentially, yeah.
Listen, I wish you all the luck for that. One of your tools is related to music.
It is. Tool number 3.
Tell me about it.
Music is one of the best tools in My Wellness Toolbox because it can literally override your negative thinking. So if I'm in a little bit of a grump, or whether I'm feeling extremely negative, i.e. the negative thoughts are overriding, turn the music on, turn it up, and just let all your positive songs wash that negative thinking away. Again, it's one of those tools that some days it might just not work because of how bad you are feeling, but 9 times out of 10, music works.
Now, there's 2 schools of thought, I think, with music, because obviously I've studied music quite a lot. And I'm going to play a very short piece of music now from the classical period. Now, that to me is different to a Daft Punk track. If I'm looking for positivity and energy, rather than trying to manage anxiety and bring myself back to a level that I am comfortable with.
Yeah.
If you would indulge me and let me play you this track now, and then we have a quick chat afterwards, I'll ask you where your feelings lie. Is it going to, for you, is it a mixture of the two, or can you drop into different styles or genres or time periods? Does it have to be contemporary music, or can it be music from the past and things like that? But I'm going to play you this piece of music now.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then you tell me a little bit about it. And after we've had a chat, we'll be joined by our Shirley correspondent, who is almost international this evening. So maybe we can have a chat to him together, if that's okay.
Fab.
Here you go. The girl with the flaxen hair. And how does that make you feel, Alison?
I found that very relaxing.
There you go. You see?
Very nice.
It's different, isn't it? If you're looking for that relaxation, you go with something along those lines. And if you need that burst of energy, you choose what you need, don't you? You choose that tool out of the toolbox and you make that conscious decision.
And the suggestion in the book is that everyone has a positive playlist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a playlist which contains all your songs that make you feel good. And it might be that you have a couple for different situations. So when you want to really relax, you've got your relaxing playlist. When you want something a bit more upbeat to make you feel a bit more positive, you've got your more positive playlist.
Brilliant.
But yeah, ultimately, it's one of the most...
We've all got certain songs, haven't we, that we fall back on.
Definitely.
Excellent. Listen, talking about positivity, we are joined now here on Solihull Radio by our Shirley / Solihull correspondent. But Coleman, you're almost international this evening, aren't you?
International, yes. I'm up in North Yorkshire.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I'm up just outside of Whitby in a place called Live. My family and myself, we were gone camping for a few days.
Oh, good man.
So, I mean, the thing is, not there is wellness, you know what I mean? Once you get the tent up, it's fantastic.
You and I both know that in a little while, the little ones are back at school. Indeed. So are you this last-minute camping holiday of yours?
Well, I don't. We have a tent. Go camping, I suppose. But this year it's been so busy for us that we've always kind of put it off and say, we'll go camping next week, and we never did.
Sure.
And it's funny how time flies. And you talk about what's important, and then you realise suddenly that the time is gone. And you think, good gracious, where did that go? You know. So we made a conscious decision to go camping this week. My wife's sister and her partner are over from Canada, so we went. They're here as well.
Oh.
And so we were having a nice family trip up to Yorkshire.
Wish them well. Wish them well for me.
Oh, good gracious, yes, I will.
Listen, we are joined in the studio by a local author, Alison Swift, who has, in fact, her book is released today. It's called My Wellness Toolbox, and it gives 26 tools for basically dealing with day-to-day life that you can plug in where required, modify as you wish, and it just gives you a little bit of a sort of reference to how better or how to live life a little bit better. Try to reduce some anxieties and things like that. Any questions?
Oh, well, you put me on the spot here.
Sorry about that.
As you always do. Well, good evening, Alison. How are you?
Hi there.
Rather than just speaking about wellness, because one would think that it's a very kind of packed market, like the whole wellness thing, and people kind of are writing. You'd get a large range of books on wellness and wellness toolkits and whatever else, that kind of thing.
Sure.
My question is, it's not so much about wellness, it's actually about the first step. I mean, as you probably know, there's the old saying, everyone's got a book in them, okay? Now, mind you, it might not be a book worth reading, in my case, but how do you make the first step? I mean, I'd love to. I mean, I've come up with some crazy ideas for books, and I've sketched out the ideas, and they've stopped. So where do I go? I mean, how do I make the jump from? I suppose in some ways, the case there's probably a fear of rejection. Really, in my case, I'd be afraid to write something and have it rejected. How do I make the jump from ideas and a first draft to actually getting people to seriously listen to what I have to say about what I want to write?
Well, for me, if you actually looked at my documents folder on my laptop at home, you'll see probably about 30 attempts to write a book over the last 13 years. But this time round, I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what the message was that I wanted to get out there. So I actually decided to kind of go down the blog route first, and my sister and I set up a private Facebook group page where friends of friends can add members. So you can only become a member if you know someone that's in the group. And that's where I started to share my tools, and I kind of used that really as a place to get the feedback, because again, like yourself, it's that fear of rejection. So I use that to help me not only write the book, but also to understand if it's something that people would need, or if it was actually helpful, because the aim of my book is to help people. It wasn't just about I want to write a book, it was to share the tools to help others. So I wanted to make sure that they actually did help others, and we quickly got feedback, so that gave me some confidence around it. So 26 weeks down the line, when I thought, I think that's my 26 tools covered, although I did think of 27 after I'd submitted the book to the publisher, as always happens, which is the beach.
But that could be the first of the next 26.
Yeah, exactly. That could be the next 26. So what I actually did, I did a load of research around publishing versus self-publishing, and there's so much out there to read. I narrowed it down. I did a good couple of weeks of research, and I found it was actually a self-publishing house, which was Troubadour. And I just contacted them by phone, said, I've got something here, I kind of want your feedback. And I sent it to them for their feedback, and they came back to say, we'd like to work with you. So that's kind of how it started, and that was the start. That was 6 months ago.
And that's how you write a book.
Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. It does actually, because again, the whole idea of those would say, self-publishing, and some people, there's actually quite a few shysters out there, for example.
Yeah, there is.
It's a bit of a racket.
It was I had to pick through a lot of information. You can self-publish completely, you can go straight on now and upload a document onto Amazon, I believe, and do like free publishing and what have you. But I did a lot of research and found... looked at a publisher that had a lot of really positive reviews. Excellent. Obviously has a lot out there, and got good feedback from obviously some of the big publishers as well.
Excellent.
There you go. Thanks for the question, Coleman. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Thank you.
What's happening for you? We're back to normal next week.
Well, we are back to normal, Jeff, but it's going to be very interesting actually when I go back to school, because my mind has been open to a new way of looking at my students coming into September, because you as you know yourself, every September you sit there and you get the first bit of free writing you get your kids to write, even primary or secondary, is what you do for the summer. And I recently sent a Facebook post about teachers not asking that question. because of the fact that a lot of the kids, I mean, especially the school I work at, for example, which I won't name, but there's quite a lot of poverty, and quite a few of the kids use food banks, and, you know, they didn't go on holiday, and a lot of hunger, and it's like in the sixth richest country in the world, I think it's an absolute sin. But, so the kids this year asking the question, what do you hope to achieve this year?
That's
Look
a good
ahead,
point.
not look back.
Positivity.
And for me, it has to be positivity, because to be honest with you don't want to be putting kids on the spot, and, you know, because some of my kids will have had a lovely holiday, some of them will have had a lovely time, and others will not. And I will know this from the pinched faces, unfortunately, and the white bread diet, and the latchkey kids, many of whom I teach. And I suppose the big thing is, for me, my focus will be this at the start of each year, because like I did last year, once it works. I started the week, I go to Aldi, because I get great fruit in Aldi. No, there are other supermarkets you can buy fruit. You can buy fruit.
Yeah, there are.
But I go to Aldi, and I put a big, massive fruit bowl on my desk. Now, the thing is, the fruit isn't for me. The fruit is whoever wants one grabs one.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, the kids won't come up en masse and grab it all, but they have one or two, and then it's just there. You know what I mean? And then, for example, those who might eat an orange, for example, I say, okay, well, if you're going to eat an orange or eat an apple, keep the seeds. We'll plant some trees and see what happens. So we actually grown some orange trees last year, which are about 3 inches high now.
Oh, that's good.
Which isn't bad. And so we're going to keep growing them. We've got a school greenhouse. We're going to grow them there. We're growing some apple trees, and we'll see what happens, you know. But there has to be this kind of a positive consequence to the fact that, okay, that it's, you know, at the end of each week, for example, when they're going home, you know, any spare food that hasn't been eaten in the school canteen is kind of just packaged and stuck into the bags before they go home, you know.
Yeah, I do.
And it's tough. It's one doesn't like that to see it, and, you know, one doesn't kind of mention it. In the same way, for example, like I'm going next week. You know, I've got my son is, you know, he's 9 now, but all of his old school clothes, his school shirt, before the school had a branded shirt. He's got you know, the old white and blue polos and his school trousers. And they're all in good nick. I mean, he never wears it. He never wears knees out, thankfully, or the backside of his trousers. So they all go in. They've all been washed and laundered and ironed, and they'll go into school, and they'll be snuck into the kids' PE bags after they finish PE. They come back and they find the trousers that they used to wear, which is shiny with the dirt, is gone, and this nice new trousers. They don't mention it. The parents don't mention it because they know what we're at, you know. But the thing is, we're not kind of saying, oh, aren't we wonderful? It's just a case of it's what we have to do. In the same way, like, for example, buying our own equipment for school, because there isn't any money there. So, but I look at it not so much as a challenge, but as almost as my duty, really.
It's the way, isn't it? If we take that positive spin. It's definitely a different way of looking at things, and
it is a positive spin, because there's no point. I mean, seeing people say, "Oh, how terrible it is," whatever else, and arguing the tough thing, or something should be done. Well, something is being done by teachers across the country, and, you know, I mean, it's like, for example, as Jeff, you probably remember last year when I went into Solihull Council with pencils at the council.
I remember seeing you in the Observer.
Oh yeah. We with the tiny stub pencils, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much the fact that I was being positive insofar as I was trying to be positive, insofar as hoping for support for the councils. It was the derision that I received from the party in power. That's what broke my heart. You know, that the derision and the laughing. And I thought to myself, it's not so much I wasn't getting through to them, but then I thought to myself, I could be really nasty. I could be really negative about this, and throw out the baby with the bathwater. But instead, I've looked at other ways, like through my work at Round Table, through the work with different political groups which I'm affiliated with, to raise awareness and also raise funds and raise numbers of pencils. Pencils. There's actually some companies out there who are actually actively sponsoring pencils for schools now in Solihull. You know, so there is a positive.
Listen, I'm all for that. I'm all for that positive. You know me.
You know me, Jeff. I'm full of positivity because life's too short.
Listen, can I play you a song? Otherwise, we're going to be here through the evening.
No, but of course. You know what? I was inspired talking to Jackie last week, and this piece of music, I'd like, if you could find some by Fairport Convention for Jackie, because I know she loves Fairport because she's a big fan of Dave Swarbrick. Yeah. Lamented Dave Swarbrick. If you could find some by Fairport Convention, I'd be so pleased.
How's that?
Oh, Meet on the Ledge.
Meet on the Ledge, Fairport Convention.
Have
See you.
a lovely week, Jeff.
And you, take it easy, mate.
Take it handy.
Bye-bye.
Oh, finding better words, these ideas.
Solihull Radio.
That's right. Tuesday Thoughts is almost over for another week. We're lining up our next round of guests for next Tuesday. So please try and join us then. Tomorrow evening, Jake, our rock show debutante, will be sitting exactly here from 6 till 8. If you are a fan of rock music in our area, Jake's show, the Solihull Rock Show, it would be for you. So join Jake at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. I am actually out tomorrow evening recording some featured content podcast from Daleswood Health. So if you listen to our Daleswood Health podcast about the GI tract last month, we are talking with a consultant neurologist from Spire Parkway tomorrow. So I shall record that content and I shall put that out either directly onto Podbean, or if we can broadcast live, but we'll see how that works tomorrow. Last little bit then, we are joined by Alison. Alison, is there anything that you just want to add? And I'd like to say a really big congratulations on publishing this book. It's really helpful, just in day-to-day life. What have you taken from the process? What would you like to add about this process?
I think writing the book in itself has helped me more than I thought I needed help. It's been kind of therapy in a way. I've thoroughly enjoyed writing it. But I think I need to make it clear that this is my wellness toolbox, and these are the 26 tools that have helped me, and I'm sharing them to try and encourage anybody that's got mental health challenges, anxiety, to think about whether they need a toolbox, whether they want one, and start thinking about what tools they might need. And hopefully, even if just one tool helps you, then I've kind of done what I set out to achieve. Mm-hmm. But also, this is for anybody that just is looking for a more positive outlook, because throughout the book, it's light-hearted and there's humour in there, and it's trying to very much look forward rather than back. Okay,
excellent stuff. Thank you for coming into Solihull Radio this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the process.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm extremely grateful.
No problems. And I'd like to say a really big thank you to Jonathan Shale from Central Rescue UK. Like I say, head over to the guest links part of solihullradio.com. You will find a link to Alison's website and book details. You will also find a link to Jonathan's team over at Central Rescue UK. So I urge you to go across to them. And just to play out with this evening, I just want to bring you into that level. Pachelbel's Canon indeed. Hopefully you've enjoyed Tuesday Thoughts, and you will join us again next Tuesday, basically for more of the same. Big thank you to our guests. Tune in tomorrow from 6 o'clock to hear the rock show, headed up by Jake. And have a look at solihullradio.com for more information about the shows as they're coming up during the week. Thank you very much for joining me. My name's Jeff O'Brien. I'll be around next Tuesday evening for you. Click in then. Bye-bye.